Hey guys, it's Carl with 3F, and I wanted to check in with you on some of the potential pitfalls or really things to look out for if you are going to rent a property out. Part 2. So let's say you've gone through all the stuff we talked about last time and you have found a qualified tenant for your property. The first thing that you want to make sure about is that you have a strong lease agreement that's favorable to you, the landlord. There are certainly some things in there that you want to explicitly stated. No smoking in the property. You don't want people smoking in your property. No pets unless you're going to do a non-refundable pet deposit. I recommend at least $250, and I recommend no pets over 20 pounds. If you have certain breeds of pets in there, you're going to have problems with insurance. Pitbulls, Rottweilers, Dobermans. Your insurance, they likely will just drop you, and you're going to have some issues with that. So you got to be real mindful of that. Just make it a strict policy across the board. No large animals. That way you're not seen as discriminating against anyone. But you got to make sure you have, you want to make sure who's supposed to be living in the property. You want that explicitly stated in there too. You don't want somebody moving in and then next thing you know, they got 4 other people living there, adults living there. So stuff like that. If you do use a property manager to lease, or at least a leasing agent to just lease the property, even if you're going to manage it, which I do recommend for all the headaches I mentioned in the last video, they will have a lease that they use. Typically, those are pretty strong and landlord favorable leases, so I would go with that. Again, even if the cash flow isn't there where you have the desire to manage it on a monthly basis, like I said previously, I do recommend a leasing agent to go through all of the headaches and hassle of finding a qualified tenant, and they will have a lease that is strong legally and favorable to the landlord. Nowadays, when it comes to collecting rent, with the advent of electronic payment systems, collecting rent is so much easier than it used to be. There's no excuse for people not to be able to pay with Zelle or Venmo or Cash App. And with that being the case, there's no check getting lost in the mail. There's still plenty of tenants that want to pay with a money order or the traditional older school method of paying, and that's fine too. But you just cannot give people leeway. You have to be firm with them on there, and that's not easy for everyone to do. If you're the type of person that's going to struggle doing that, you're going to believe that the dog ate their homework, I recommend having a property manager manage your property, because the 10% or so that you pay them a month is going to be way cheaper than all of the months of lost rent if you do get a bad apple in your unit who's just constantly going to give you excuses. If you're in a landlord-friendly state like Louisiana is, somebody doesn't pay, you put a notice on their door, file an eviction when you're allowed, and 30 days later you have your unit back. So you can gain possession of your unit pretty quick in Louisiana, which is favorable to landlords. But you just can't pay. Like I said, there's no excuse not to pay rent on time other than people just saying, I don't have the money. And if they don't have the money, then, unless you're feeling charitable, then, it's going to be problematic. Most times we have a mortgage to pay too. So it's not like we're just have, these properties where we don't owe anything on and we can let people live in there for free. We've got mortgages we've got to pay. We're running a business. This is a business. And so you've got to just be real. You have to set your goal, and in your mind from the start, you're going to be strict. You have your protocol. That's it. If you want to tell people you're not the owner, I know some people that do that. They tell tenants they're not the owner. That way they don't feel as bad when they have to be strict about certain things like rent. So, there's some caveats there, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell when it comes to rent collection and how you're going to handle people that aren't paying rent on time. So, another thing is just condition of the property. How is the tenant keeping up the property. I like to go in and change air filters every 2 to 3 months on properties. And I do that, number one, that's a good thing to do because tenants will not change air filters. Even tenants that tell you that they'll look you in the face and say, I'm going to take this air filter inside right now and change it. They will not do it. So you've just got to be careful with that. To keep up your air conditioning systems, obviously those are expensive if you have to replace one. Even repairs are expensive. And but the second reason I like to do that is because you can go in there and you can monitor the condition of the property. You know, you can look for things that need to be fixed. Sometimes tenants, even though you tell them, and you should tell them explicitly, when you have a problem, you need to let me know immediately. I'm going to be upset with you if you don't tell me. Some tenants feel bad. They feel like you're going to be mad at them if there's a pipe leaking under the sink. And next thing you know, you got to replace all the cabinets because of wood rot. So, you know, you go around, you're able to go in there, you're able to check everything. You know, you want to be real clear with your tenants. You need to be clear and upfront with your tenants about your expectations from the beginning as it is. You know, and most of them, if you do right by them, they'll do right by you. But you need to be very clear of what you expect them to do, air conditioning filters, any repairs that need to be done. But also, you need to be a good landlord and fix stuff right away when it's broken. You know, obviously, if somebody calls you on Christmas Day and tells you they've got a problem, well, they need to understand that it's going to be a couple days minimum before you can get somebody out there. But get it fixed right away. You get stuff fixed right away, you're living up to your end of the bargain. You be a good landlord, and in return, expect them to be a good tenant. So, like I said, as far as changing air filters, you can go in, you can check things, you can look for stuff, make sure stuff's not a mess, make sure there isn't holes in the wall, make sure everything's running the way it's supposed to be. And, you know, other than that, just a little hoping and praying that you get a good tenant. There's a lot of good tenants out there. Not everyone, but there's a lot of good tenants out there. You know, when you get a good one, you know, hope they stay as long as they can. You know, another thing, yearly rent increases. You know, it's hard to do, but you got to make that a habit as well. With insurance and taxes and utilities going up as fast as they're going up every year, 3 to 5%, you just make it a habit, go up on the rent. Keep that stuff in mind, and your rental properties will run pretty smoothly.